Hello and welcome to RNB Fusion podcast. Now, if you like your podcast with a bit of fruity language and some adult themes, then look no further. This is the podcast for you. However, if you don't, then you might want to go and look on like BBC Radio 4 or CBeebies or something along those lines. You didn't have a farm, Ben?
Paul was an alien. There you go. Done.
It's an egg.
Is it an egg? Hashtag legend.
Because Jif is that cleaner or the polisher, whatever it is. Hello there. Let's cause divide in the world, Ben.
Go back in time and get a load of Bitcoin.
I was a rebel, man. You know, the system couldn't hold me down. Guess who's back? Back again. Rossi's back. And here is Ben.
Hello. Cracking intro there, Ross. I think we need to do something like that every episode now. So, yeah, look forward to that.
Well, I think we've got a number one chart successor there with that.
Oh yeah. Of course we have. You know, but a bit of Eminem, yeah, for sure.
But I just want to say, welcome back, listeners. This week, it is all about films. And Ben, you and me, we talk a lot about films, don't we?
Oh, yes, we do.
Yes, we do. So here we go. It's time to talk about films. Ben, I know you are a massive cinephile as it is. So, Ben, you go to the cinemas quite a bit, don't you?
Yes, I do, Ross. Yeah, it's probably once a week, depending what's on. I mean, maybe once a month. So I would say gangster films, and I like my true stories. True stories. Oh yeah, I love a good true story film.
Good. See, I love a good true story film. But apart from horror ones that say it's based on a true story, because I'm not a big horror fan.
Oh, I'm not.
No. But talking about like the true story aspect, if I see that before a horror film, I'm not sleeping that night. Why would you tell me that this is all real? We were told as kids, ghouls and ghosts and all this, they don't exist, you know, it's all fine. And then suddenly you watch a horror film and it says, oh, this Annabelle doll that was possessed and killed nearly everyone. This is real, by the way. This is based on a true story. And you're sitting there going, why have you done this to me?
Yes, well, why am I going to be watching this now? I want to get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just makes you want to go, actually, no, that's it. I'm done. I am done. I'm out of here, and walk out the cinema. How are you feeling now that the cinemas are still all closed? Because I don't know about you, I'm missing that feeling of sitting there, eating the popcorn, the surround sound, that feeling when you're watching a film for the first time. I'm really missing that feeling. How are you feeling about that?
I am missing the main films now, like the James Bond film, what was supposed to come out and it's been postponed again. And all the main films, I would say, you know, I'm really missing. What about yourself?
Yeah, I've got to admit, I am missing a lot of the cinema feelings. Like I said earlier, I miss that feeling of just sitting down with some popcorn and just really embracing the film. And like you said, especially like with the update that No Time to Die has now been pushed back to October. The third time it's been pushed back since, because it was meant to come out in April last year. And and apparently it's Daniel Craig's final Bond film, which, you know,
is it though?
Yes, apparently it is officially his last one. After that he's stepping away. Which I think is quite sad, because I really like Daniel Craig as James Bond. I think he really brought a completely different persona. Like, we all know how James Bond is, very smooth, a womanizer. He had this elegance about him, whereas Daniel Craig brought that elegance, but kind of like a darker character. Like, he didn't take no shit from anyone in that sense. He just has this presence about him. Do you have any opinions on who should be the next Bond?
Tom Hardy.
Oh, that's a good call.
Yeah, Tom Hardy. I mean, there was quite a few rumours about Tom Hardy. I hope it happens, but there are some good candidates about. I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, will they go down a different route and want a different type of character? You know, that's the question. What do you think?
I mean, I love the idea of Tom Hardy being Bond. Like, I can imagine. I mean, if have you ever seen Legend?
Yes, I have seen Legend. Yeah, it's one of my favourite films, actually.
How he played him was how I can imagine playing Bond. The fact of that elegance, that suaveness, the power, I can imagine Tom Hardy holding that really well. But for me, my one is, and I've got two. Everyone will probably agree with me on this one, which is Tom Hiddleston. Tom Hiddleston, he did a program on BBC called The Night Manager. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, I have, yeah.
That for me was basically his audition tape for playing Bond. And I think Tom Hiddleston would really bring a nice suaveness and that cheeky charm that Bond has. But for me personally, my number one pick, I want Idris Elba to play him.
Yes, that would be really good if he could, be Bond. I remember when this came about and he was doing a DJ set, and I remember he did a Bond theme tune in his set just to give a little bit of a hint, and then it all started coming about, is he going to be the next Bond, and etc. But he's so talented in everything he does, acting, music, he's really good in every sector he does, really.
Idris Elba just has this suaveness about him, this presence. Like in Luther, he was incredible.
He was Luther. That's the first thing I actually watched of him. He was, since then I've just followed him ever since.
But have you got any other options for James Bond, Ben?
No. I like those two. I think those two would be ideal, really. What about? I'll let you carry on the debate, but I like those two.
Well, that's it, and I'm quite excited because I think listeners, if you've got your perfect Bond, I want you to tell us on our social media. I want you to comment under this post that we've shared, publishing this podcast. I want you to send underneath your comments of who you want as Bond and why. You could have one option, or you could have a top 5. I really want to understand why you think certain people should be Bond. I definitely am very excited to see No Time to Die, because I think it's going to be a massive blockbuster. I'm thinking of another classic British film, which it only really came out in the last 20 years, and that is Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. Oh, that's another brilliant film. I think there's a picture of you, actually, Ross, on social media, if I remember, yes?
Yeah, so fun story. For what Ben's describing is there's a photo, and on top, it's me and my friend James Dundaven from uni. And underneath, it's Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. And on Halloween, we were trying to come up with ideas, saying, what can we do? And we both looked at each other and went, oh my God, we should do Shaun of the Dead. So, we bought the gear. James bought the name badge, and he went as Shaun and I went as Nick Frost. And it was insane. We put it up on the social media before I did all the zombie makeup. And it just went wild. People going, this is amazing. This is the greatest. And I shared it on Twitter and I tagged Nick Frost in it on Halloween. And I was at a party, and as I was all zombified and had all these zombie bites, because I was playing Ed after he'd been bitten at this point, I saw on my phone, it said Nick Frost liked it and retweeted it. And I was thinking, oh my God, the original Ed and is like this. It was an insane moment, but I've never ever topped that fancy dress ever. What was your view on it, Ben, when you watched it?
The main characters just seem to just bounce off each other. It was that famous scene when they're walking back from the pub and then they start singing, and then the zombie just says that, whatever it does in the background, and then they just carry on. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I know which bit you're on about. The bit one yeah.
Yeah, that's the bit, yeah.
What was your view when you watched Hot Fuzz? Because that was obviously the second part of the Cornetto trilogy. What did you enjoy Hot Fuzz?
Yes, I wanted Hot Fuzz too.
Did you?
Yeah, I really did. I wanted it to carry on.
What was your favourite moment in Hot Fuzz?
My favourite bit in Hot Fuzz was when he jumps over the Land Rover and I think he kicks the farmer's mum in the face or something like that. I'm not a violent person, just so everyone knows, but that bit, just the way it happened, you've got to watch it, guys. I loved it.
Okay, I'm going to test you here, Ben, and see how well you remember it. So, what flavour was the first Cornetto in Shaun of the Dead?
Was it? I think it was plain, wasn't it? The original.
No, not yet.
No, or no, was it mint?
No.
I'm sure there was a mint one in it.
Yeah, there is, but it's not this one.
Not that one. Okay.
Think of the colour scheme of Shaun of the Dead. I'll give you a clue. Think of the colour scheme. So, Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, strawberry.
Yes, there we go. See, there's one down. So the other two you got right, as in those are the flavours that are in it. I mean, if you've never had a cornetto is an amazing British treat. One of the best things to have on a summer's day. And the fact that they changed the strawberry, so it didn't have like a strawberry bit in the middle anymore, was tragic. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. before I get really annoyed about the fact that the cornettos have changed. But so you got the red one, so strawberry and Shaun of the Dead. What was the one in Hot Fuzz? And you said it earlier.
I'm going to go for the original.
Yes, bang on. Look at that. Got it in one. Yes. So obviously the plain one. What was the flavour that was in it?
Mint.
Yeah, there you go. And the only reason I remember that one is because right at the end of the film, the mint falls on the fence and then it disappears.
Because it goes bang, doesn't it, on the wire fence?
I think World's End, it's still a good film. That's the thing. It's still a good film. But comparing to the other two, I think it let down the side a bit. I think Paul should have been the third one because Paul was so much better. What was your view on World's End?
Not really. Nothing stood out compared to the other two, really, for me. It was just, for me, it was just some lads who went on a pub crawl, and that was it, really. It was a good film, but like I said, it was the weaker one. Definitely the weaker one, for sure.
So have you ever watched Paul then, Ben?
Yes.
Tell me about Paul then.
Paul was an alien. There you go. Done.
Come on. You can't do that for our viewers. They need a full in-depth. You can't just go, Paul was an alien. I can imagine you trying to sell Armageddon. So Armageddon, it's about all these construction workers going to space to destroy an asteroid, and it's all about emotion, impact, and all this. I can imagine you just going, Bob the Builder goes to space.
Short and sweet.
Okay, so we created a top 10 list, didn't we, of our favourite films. I'm going to let you go first on this. So I want you to give me your top 10 films.
Okay, my number one film, Van Helsing.
Van Helsing. Oh, the original, what, the one with Hugh Jackman in?
Yes, that one.
I really enjoyed that. I was quite surprised because that film got panned, but it was one of those films I really enjoyed. What was it that you loved about that film? Why is that number one?
I would say that, I don't know why. It was just, I like the making of it and the graphics and everything put together, and the main character himself, Wolverine geezer. Yeah, he was good.
Oh, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
If you don't know what Van Helsing is, it's basically this famed monster hunter. He's sent to Transylvania to start Dracula, who apparently is using Dr. Frankenstein's research.
That's it,
isn't he? And then it all just kicks off. I remember, this is a fun fact about this, is that whilst they were filming the film, Hugh Jackman broke an extra's hand.
Did he?
Yeah, I can't remember the scene it is in particular, but I just remember reading it.
What's your favourite film then?
So number one for me is the Blues Brothers film, the original Blues Brothers film, not Blues Brothers 2000. We don't talk about that film. That film was an absolute travesty. But the Blues Brothers film was, when I was younger, I went to Florida, and in Universal, they have like a Blues Brothers area where the Blues Brothers come and do a proper show, and they sing all the music, and it's all blues and soul and jazz, and it's absolutely incredible. And whilst we were there, my dad picked up the DVD Blues Brothers, and basically the rest is history. If you've never watched the film, it's about two brothers, obviously the Blues Brothers, and their old orphanage is being shut down because they haven't paid enough tax or something along those lines. So it's up to them, as they are on a mission from God, as they say, to get the money together and take it to Chicago, Illinois. And I remember just watching it over and over and over again to the point I can quote it, but it's ridiculous. It's so good in the fact of the chemistry that John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd have. Have you ever seen Blues Brothers, Ben?
Yes, it's one of a kind.
Yeah, it's one of those that you bop along to. The music's so catchy, And it kind of spawned and the reason why I love jazz and all that now. Blues Brothers had a massive impact on my life in that way. I love it. So, Ben, what's in at number 2? It's like Top of the Pops, this. In at number 2 is...
Legend.
Ooh, yeah, we were talking about Legend earlier. Legend is a classic film. What do you like about Legend, Ben?
I like my gangster films to start it off, always have and always will. I think it is because Tom Hardy plays 2 characters.
Yeah, he's incredible in that.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy is a hell of an actor anyway. When you're tasked, speaking from an actor's point of view, when you're tasked with the fact of, oh, right, you're going to play 2 characters, they're both brothers, you've got to play them differently. That's a task.
It just shows you how good he is.
Yeah, of course, 100%. Like the fact that he played him so differently. What else did you like about Legend, Ben?
Because it was the old school vibe, and they dressed smartly, and they were gangsters / gentlemen, and they rubbed shoulders with celebrities. I think everything about it, really.
I think for me, like when the reviewers came out with it, they said, oh yeah, it was okay. And I watched it and I was blown away with the fact of how well it was portraying the Cray twins. Now, the only thing they didn't do right in Legend, and it was only because I remember my mate James telling me this, was the Cray twins were very fond of their mum. The beauty, I mean, can you really say it, beauty on the Cray twins? Because they were these gangsters that had so much respect from everyone. So much respect. Like you said, they were rubbing shoulders with celebrities. They basically became the dons of the entirety of London during the 60s.
Yeah, they did it. I think companies even paid them money just to put their name on the company. So like it was like a security firm like Cray's Security or something. So they were that well respected. People wanted a bit of them, and I suppose if you had your like the Cray's security firm or team or company, I think people think, oh, that's part of them and so forth. So they were that respected. People wanted a bit of them.
Like, I don't know much about the Cray twins, but if you had them, that was it. Nobody messed with you. It's a bit like having, if you think of it in like The Godfather in that terms of sense, it's basically like having the mafia on your side. Tom Hardy really brought that gangster flick to life. Ben, what's at number 3 then? Because number 2, I think, was Legend for me as well, actually.
Okay, we'll go to number 3, and that is The Gentleman.
Oh, I've not seen this.
You've not seen The Gentleman?
I've not seen it. You're going to have to tell me, is it good, Ben?
I love it. Throughout the film, the way it was shot, it was great for me. It kept me... It was that film where I wanted more and more, and then it finished, and I was like, I'm going to wait till the next film comes out. I want to know what happens. And I think there is going to be a second film.
Is there?
Yeah, well, I think so, because the way it ended. But we'll have to wait and see. I would imagine 2022, 2023, when film can get going again.
The only thing I kind of knew about that film was that people were saying it was kind of like Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels in that sense.
It was just very gripping. I loved it. It came out in 2019, actually.
Oh, right.
Yes. So it's been out for a couple of years. Guy Ritchie was the one who directed it.
The legend of gangster flicks.
Yes. I remember Guy Ritchie. Do you remember the recent Sherlock Holmes, that film?
Oh, yeah. The one with Robert Downey Jr. in there.
Yes, that's it. And the way he sort of, like, the way he does the openers and stuff like that, or like leading up to the film starting, silly things like that. I think his filming techniques are brilliant, and he can really tell a story.
Yeah, I mean, Guy Ritchie has such a talent in doing that. Guy Ritchie is one of those directors that really established himself, and kind of a bit like Tarantino and Martin Scorsese, a lot of actors want to work with him and want to do this because of who he is and his name, which I think is incredible.
So, Ross, what's your third film?
Third film?
Yes.
Oh, So my third film is a film which has Tom Hardy in as well.
Okay.
But it's called Lock. Now, this was a film that I accidentally stumbled across on Netflix many, many moons ago. You know when you're just sitting there and you're scrolling through Netflix, think, I want to go and watch something, but I don't know what. But I came across this, and basically it's about a guy called Ivan Locke, and he's a construction worker, and he is driving from Birmingham, so my hometown. The beauty of this film is that it all happens in the car. So you don't see any of the other actors. You only see Tom Hardy in his car talking through Bluetooth, and it all happens through a series of phone calls. So you've got like Olivia Colman, who's doing her part and who's playing the wife. Everything just kind of spirals, but it really just grips you because it keeps the focus on Tom and how he's dealing with it. And I think that's what it does so well with storytelling wise. And again, Tom Hardy did an amazing job.
It sounds like it's like that film Phone Booth with Colin Farrell, like 2002.
Exactly like that, Ben. Do you know what? You literally just helped me out there because I was trying to think of another film it's like, and it's like that, how it's all around one little area. But honestly, yeah, definitely. If you've never watched it, Ben, I definitely recommend that. And to our listeners, go watch it. It's a lot better than I described it, honestly. So, Ben, number 4. What is in at number 4?
Number 4 is The Addams Family.
Ooh,
yes, The Addams Family.
That's a bit of a U-turn in my eyes. I wouldn't have ever associated that with you.
Well, no, it's a childhood film. What I really liked. Yeah, obviously it's the originals, the first and second one. Again, I just loved how much drama there was and all the different aspects of the film. I mean, do you like that film? Yeah.
I watched it. I mean, it wasn't my cup of tea. Again, it was good. I mean, I didn't really watch it in my childhood, but it was. I directed the like a children's version of it a few years ago, like the musical.
I think the reason why I like it is I think it was the first sort of film like that, properly, not like animation or anything. So that's why it's up there, really. I think it just brings back some good memories.
And I think, like in our list, we probably, as you've said there, the best type of films in my eyes are the ones that might not have had the best reviews, but the ones that either made your childhood or changed your life.
Right, Ross, what's your number 4?
Oh, number 4. For me, number 4 is The Dark Knight, the Batman one, the Christian Nolan, the second one in the trilogy. I mean, I would put the entire trilogy in there because for those who don't know me and for our listeners, I'm a massive superhero nerd. Like, Ben knows this.
He is. I can clarify, he is.
Ben knows this because when we talk, like we went to go and watch a Marvel film and I will sit there and rabbit on for hours and hours and hours how different it is to the comic and all this. But Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, like that Batman, I remember watching it with my dad because we went to go and watch it in the IMAX in Birmingham at the Think Tank, and we watched it at like 1 a.m. Now, most of the audience was asleep, but oh my God, it was just so well done. Like, the film overall is incredible. If you've never seen The Dark Knight, again, you're living under a rock, people. Like, The Dark Knight was just everything that was needed to be about Batman. Like I said, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises are incredible films, but The Dark Knight just stood out because, and I think a lot of people will agree with me, is Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker. I mean, we all know how legendary his status is as the Joker. Now, I remember when he was announced as the Joker and everyone was like, oh, it's going to be crap, it's going to be rubbish, blah, 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 blah. But I love Heath Ledger in general. Like, I absolutely love Heath Ledger as an actor. And when he passed, it was so heartbreaking. Like, the fact that he passed before the release of the film. But the film, like, he's just everything about the Joker he did so well. He played this psychotic, social, disorientated Joker that the reason he did all these things was for fun. Even though in the comics he's done it for fun, but he's doing it not for the money or anything like that. He's doing it because he likes to mess with people and he likes to see chaos and disorder. And him and Christian Bale just bounce off each other so well. And And I love the pacing of the film, like the fact that the film is so well paced. Like there isn't too many characters all at once. Like you also have Harvey Dent that's introduced. They don't automatically straight away go, oh, here's Two-Face until like towards the latter end of the film. They let the Joker have his massive on-screen time. Then they went, okay, let's put Two-Face in now. And it was really well done in that way. And again, just the iconic scene for me in that film was the underground bit where they're transporting Harvey Dent in the armoured vehicle and the Joker rocks up next to him in a truck, and you have like the big Batmobile coming through and you have the Hans Zimmer score starting to intensify. It was just a cinematic, epic masterpiece in that short clip as well, because the sound, like the soundscaping of it was perfect. The tension, the action, like I'm even getting chills as we talk about it because I'm thinking about it. I'm getting goosebumps. I just love that film so much. Like, have you ever watched The Dark Knight, Ben?
Yes, I have, Ross. It's one of the best Batman films out there. So if you haven't watched it, people, you need to see it.
In at number 5 is...
Oh, that's a good question. What is it? Number 5. I'm going down the animation route again. And it is Space Jam.
Oh, Space Jam!
Yeah.
That film is iconic.
I absolutely love that film. The whole cast of Looney Tunes in a film with one of the best basketball players ever.
Of all
Say
time.
no more, really.
That's it. Like, Ben, for those who've never watched Space Jam, you need to explain what happens. What is Space Jam? Because it sounds like an intergalactic version of Strawberry Jam, but it isn't. What is Space Jam, Ben?
You've got a famous basketball player.
Michael Jordan, the legend, the GOAT.
Yes. And he manages to go to the other side and get onto the Looney Tune side of things. And the Looney Tunes need need MJ's help in a basketball match. What's convenient. He helps them out against these people trying to invade from, I'm sure it's space.
Yeah, it's like they're like intergalactic beings or something like that.
Yeah, but these space people aren't playing. They're not doing it in. Well, what's the right word to use? They're not playing, fair, and they still
They're cheating.
Yeah, they're cheating. That's the word. That's the word. Cheating. They are cheating, and they take some talent. Basketball players' talent, and the Looney Tunes need MJ's help to beat them in this basketball match. Guys, you really need to see it. It's one of a kind. I remember going to see this at the cinema, and then it came out straight away. Do you remember when it came out straight away? Like on videotape. When it came out,
I had that video.
Yeah,
still got it.
Yeah, literally, it came. I think it was out in cinemas for like a couple of months. Then a month later or something like that, it came straight out, didn't it?
Yeah, it was weird because like films these days are very similar. They stay in cinemas for a few months and then they come out a few months later. But at that time, normally films would take about a year, maybe a year and a bit to come out on VHS. But I remember when it did, because the video I had it had reversible sleeves. So on one side, it was Michael Jordan with the cast of Bugs and all them, all standing and it said Space Jam, and then on the back he had all the blurb and stuff. And then the other side was like intergalactic, and it had Michael Jordan on one side, Bugs on the other, and Space Jam in the middle. When they got Bill Murray involved, it made it even better for me. Like Bill Murray I love Bill Murray in anything he does, but Bill Murray in that is just insanely good.
Yes, apparently it's supposed to be coming out in 2021, a new Space Jam, but it's got to be the OG for me, the original.
Yeah, well, apparently it's gonna be very similar to the original, but it's gonna have another GOAT, which is LeBron James. So they're gonna have LeBron James play basically in the same role as what Michael Jordan was.
I think it's going to be interesting, but I've heard it is his production company as well.
Yeah, well, LeBron James is an absolute all-star. Like he's definitely, when he retires, he's going to go down the same route that Kobe Bryant did, and Michael Jordan, where they're going to be remembered as all-time greats in the game. I always wanted a Space Jam jersey. And I'm still looking for one this day.
I did. I so wanted a Space Jam jersey, but I had one of those, I think it was Tasmanian Devils.
Yeah.
And it had the Space Jam gear on, so I was like, I'll settle for this. So, Ross, what's your next pick then?
Rugrats, the movie. So, the Rugrats movie is basically Tommy Pickles, our protagonist, shall we say, is annoyed after he's basically been lectured that he has to be a responsible older brother to Dill, who's his recently newborn brother. So, with Phil and Lil and the rest of the gang, he decides to return Dill, his baby brother, back to the hospital. But unfortunately, they get lost in the woods. And in the woods with them is a pack of monkeys that have escaped from a circus. So it's like a train that's kind of toppled over. And in the film, the kids start to think that, maybe it wasn't so bad after all having a baby brother. Even though not a lot of us can remember being a baby, it's how we remember being a child. That is how our adventures were. Like, we never got lost in the woods, or we went, like, you go to Paris and stuff and that craziness. But it was just like the stuff they'd get up to, like the fear of stupid little things. Like, there was a fear of a robot in one episode, and it was like as a kid you'd think, oh my god, that I used to be kind of scared of those stupid things. Like, for me, there was this Elmo that my cousin had, and he used to talk and walk, and I remember me and her were quite scared of it, and it was very similar to that robot. But yeah, I love Rugrats. Rugrats was amazing. Have you ever watched Rugrats in your life, Ben? Ever?
I've watched some episodes. I think I watched that film, the first one. I vaguely remember the second one, because that was in Paris, wasn't it, like you said? And it was that robot, wasn't it, like that dinosaur robot?
Reptar!
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
I am Reptar, hear me roar. Blah.
But I was more that, is it the Wild Thornberrys at that
yeah,
stage?
the Wild Thornberrys were on at that point, and even they had their own movie.
Yeah.
I remember it briefly. I mean, Nigel Thornberry, again, a character that everyone remembers. So, Ben, in at number 6, what have you got?
In at number 6, it is.
Yeah.
It's a Disney film. Another animation. It's Robin Hood. Did you ever watch that film, Robin Hood?
I haven't. I've watched it, but I don't remember it much. Like, I know the story of Robin Hood, so I kind of can piece it together. But I remember watching elements. It's like, I did the tour in Panto of Robin Hood many years ago, and one of the soundtracks, like one of the songs that's in it, we had.
It was based obviously on Robin Hood, but all the characters were animal related. I think it was done in 1973, but the film, it was just good. I just remember watching it as a kid, like probably maybe every other Sunday. Brings back good memories, and I think, like I say, childhood. And again, it's just based on the normal story.
It was kind of like Jungle Book. Like, for me, sometimes I always get Jungle Book and that mixed up because of the animal aspect. Like, I know that sounds really, really stupid, and people are probably thinking, oh my God, Ross, what are you on about? But the fact of, for some unknown reason, I always have this image that in Robin Hood, this snake appears and tries to charm him, but it's not. That's Jungle Book.
Yes. Yeah, but I think a lot of the people who did the Jungle Book also did the Robin Hood film as well. So probably the same voices as well, to the characters.
You saying about that one about Jungle Book? Car the snake, the one that I've just said.
Yes.
Do you know that actor? I bet you can guess who that character also voiced. Who else did he voice in another iconic Disney animation character?
I'm trying to think, Ross.
Well, I'll give you a quote. So basically, his character goes, think, think, think. That was a terrible impression, but that's the quote he says. He goes, think, think, think.
Oh, yes, yeah, it's Pooh.
Going back to Robin Hood. Robin Hood is always a classic tale in whatever it's told.
So, Ross, your next film, please.
Oh, and it's one that I can't talk about. Do you get that reference?
You can't talk? Okay.
Here we go. I'm going to test you. So if I can't talk about it, there'll be listeners that they're going, it's this, like screaming at the phones. Or they're probably walking on a daily walk going, it's this damn film, Ben, you should know it. What film is it, Ben?
This might take a while.
Rule 1 of it, you can't talk about it. Had Brad Pitt in and Edward Norton, and it was an iconic film. Very iconic.
Brad Pitt and who?
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton.
Do you remember when the Incredible Hulk fought another Hulk, like sort of thing called Abomination?
Yes.
Yeah. So the guy who played Bruce Banner in that one, that's Edward Norton.
Right.
Helena Bonham Carter was in the film because, I mean, that was the first time I really saw her and kind of knew who she was.
Fight Club.
Yes, you got it. Yeah.
That's it. Fight Club. Was it just before 2000 that came out?
Yeah, it was. I think it was.
Like
I think
that,
it was
yeah.
literally on the cusp of the millennium turning over, so about 1999, like November time, something like that. And I'm not going to spoil the film because the twists and the turns that happen in it are incredible. But one of my favorite things about this film is, in the film, it had subliminal images put in. They used to do it in films in cinema years ago, but it got banned. They used to put like subliminal messages like saying smoking and cigarettes. Like they put a quick flash of an image like of a cigarette. And in this film, they put subliminal images of Brad Pitt in it. If you're quick enough to pause it, you'll catch him and you'll see them. But you just see like a random flash on the screen. Brad Pitt and Edward Norton works out well with each other. Have you ever watched Fight Club, Ben?
I haven't. I've watched bits and bobs, but I haven't watched it all the way through.
On top of the pops, in at number 7 is
Doubtfire.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yes. Mrs. Doubtfire. I don't need to say anything else. I'm done. I'm gone. No,
Ben, the podcast. He's Ben on the podcast, right? I'll just say a few words and then I'll go.
No, it was just brilliant. I don't know how to describe it. It was.
Can you remember it?
Yes. Oh yeah. I can remember Mrs. Doubtfire. #legend. I'm going to do the short version again. Obviously, starts off with a nice happy family. Parents are a bit cranky, and they decide to split. The main character, Robin Williams, decides to become the nanny, but decides to dress up. I think one of his best films he's ever done, and he just plays the character, looks after the family, has a couple of problems here and there. You know, he's never done it before. I think at the end he gets his own TV show, something like that, right at the end, and he starts working for a company in the film industry, doesn't he, or something like that. Yeah, that's it really. In a nutshell, I've never seen a guy dance like that to Aerosmith before.
Yeah. Fun fact about Mrs. Doubtfire for me was when I was a kid, I hated the film. Absolutely couldn't stand watching it at all.
What?
Yeah, hated it. I think it was because when I was at my nan's, it used to be on the TV all the time and I was sick of it. But then when I kind of got a little bit older, I appreciated it even more to the point where now I love it. Robin Williams, again, as we know, I mean, he is just phenomenal at what he does. Phenomenal. In that film, in anything he's done, he's phenomenal, but in that especially. Another scene that I loved was the bit when he's talking to the woman and he starts saying, "Oh, I do voices." And he basically goes through his repertoire of all these voices and stuff. And it is basically just a Robin Williams audition sketch. Like the bit when he goes, "I'm a hot dog," and then just sits there like a hot dog.
The best bit of that scene was when the woman's face never changed.
And I can imagine how hard it was for her. Like, I can imagine that must have took loads of takes, especially with Robin Williams in front of you just messing around and being Robin Williams. The fact that she just keeps his straight face deadpan enhances the comedic element of the scene. But yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire is iconic. Love that film now.
Ross, what's your number 7 then?
Ooh, number 7. Number 7 for me has to be Man of Steel. So the one where Henry Cavill first ever donned the cape of Superman.
Okay.
So I love Superman as a superhero. I mean, the fact that he's invulnerable to everything apart from some green rock. Not many people like him because of that, but I love him. In this, it was the origins, and again, one of my favourite directors, Zack Snyder, directed it. Henry Cavill in it, for me, is the perfect Superman. Again, a British actor, but everything about him is amazing. Henry Cavill just his emotions as an actor was so well portrayed. I mean, not only was he absolute built like a unit for it and looked the part, his character building really grew throughout the film. And another big thing I love about it is that at not one point do you hear the word Superman. Like, you hear Amy Adams about to say, what's that symbol mean? And he goes, it means hope. Have you ever seen that film, Ben?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I like all the Superman films.
No, I think I went to go and watch it 7 times in cinema.
Just 7.
Just 7, yeah, just the 7. Bearing in mind, I'm not like you. I don't have a CineCard Unlimited. I paid to go and watch it each time. And it got better every time. I love it. So what's in at number 8 on Ben's top 10 films?
Number 8 is Radio Flyer.
I've never heard of that film.
Have you never seen that?
I've never heard of that film. That's something I've never heard of.
Came out in 1992, so it's a childhood film again. I think it had the main character out Lord of the Rings as a child.
What, Elijah Wood?
Yeah, Elijah Wood was in it, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
And it was him and his brother as kids. It's like a normal set American family type film. And there's this, I think it's like a dolly type thing for kids. And it was called Radio Flyer. And they build this sort of like plane on this Radio Flyer and go off this famous hill. And they go off and try and fly. I think the stepdad was a bit abusive and that the younger child went off in the makeshift plane and kept in contact with his brother. And I think Tom Hanks did the voiceover. And I just remember that because it's just another kid's film. And yeah, it's definitely worth a watch, guys.
Isn't it incredible? Like, I know I said it earlier, but isn't it incredible how a film that you've watched as a child, like that is in your childhood, can really impact you in that way? Like, it sticks with you forever. Do you think that's quite crazy?
It's weird, isn't it? I mean, just certain moments in your life, or that moment you think, I've watched this or seen this or, witnessed this, and it just stays with you for, it's amazing. What's your number 8 then?
Number 8. Okay, we're going back to superhero sort of films. Actually, it's not a superhero film. It is Joker, like the standalone one. When it was announced that was happening, I got very excited because I knew this was not going to be a kids film. It's going to be a dark DC film that I've been asking for many years. Now, this film, when I heard Todd Phillips was the director and he was writing it as well, it just instilled so much confidence for me, because this was the Joker that everyone else hasn't really seen. Like, if you've watched the animated series or you've read the comics, you understand how disturbed the Joker is. Now, obviously, the whole big thing that everyone was saying in Joker was, is it going to top Heath Ledger's performance? And for me personally, he did. Like, this film is just so dark, it just is so well shot. Like, every shot is, like, it just grabs you. Even when you see him go into Gotham City hospital, the shot of him walking into the hospital, it's beautiful. Like, the way it's colour graded, the edit, like, I loved it. Have you seen that film, Ben?
Yes, I've seen it, Ross. It made me feel very uncomfortable.
Did it?
Yeah, I think that was just a film because it was so dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really it was gripping. I wanted to watch more, but also it made me feel comfortable. Like, near the end, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil it for people again, so.
Like, I just remember watching it, and I watched it with my brother at the time, and I was grinning all the way through because I was like, it's so perfect, this film. Like, everything about it. Like, I was just beaming. Like, I had a big Joker smile on my face. Like I said, just the way it was all done, cinematography, editing-wise, I think it was very well put together as a film too. It wasn't too long and it wasn't too short. It felt nicely paced. And again, that was a film I watched over and over and over again. Like, tonight, after we finish this podcast, I'm probably going to go and watch it. Even to the point that my mum hates superhero films. She can't stand them. She absolutely fell in love with this film.
Did she?
Yeah. She's always kind of like the Joker, but she doesn't like superhero films. She thinks They're just boring, which and I get that. People have their own opinion on superhero films. For me, you're wrong, but if that's your opinion. But she loved it. She said it was phenomenal.
It did really well in the box office, though. It hit $1 billion, didn't it? Or something like that.
Yeah. It's gone down in the top. I think it's like in the top 100 films you need to see. It's in there.
Is it?
And there's a sequel coming.
Yes, but we just need to wait for that now.
Yeah, we do. And to be honest, I'm a little bit nervous for the sequel, to be fair. A little bit nervous. Because sequels often don't do as well as the first film.
I was about to say, do you think it's going to do, is it going to be any good?
Well, this is it. Like, there's some sequels that have done better than films, such as Aliens is better than the original. You've got, obviously, Dark Knight. That's even better than the original. But then you obviously have some which don't really follow as well to the sequel, such as Dumber and Dumber 2. Like, that film should never have happened, in my opinion. That film, they only did it for the sake of it, and it's quite sad. I don't know, Joker, it could be interesting. But I just don't want it to have the same impact that Endgame did. Now, Endgame is a good film. Don't get me wrong. Endgame is a cracking film. But for me, compared to Infinity War, it wasn't even on that level. I kind of, for the first time, I walked out of a Marvel film going, yeah, it was okay. It wasn't great. And that's the first time I've ever done that.
When's it supposed to be coming out? Do you know?
No, I haven't got a clue. Because it's kind of, I think it's in like production, so the kind of, or pre-production as the term is, where they're basically kind of finishing off the scripts and stuff like that. But it was announced when Joaquin Phoenix said, he'd signed on to do a second one. So it just depends when they start filming and stuff, which I'm sure we'll all see, a bit like the new Batman film that's coming. I mean, that's been pushed back to 2022 now. So Ben, in at number 9, what have you got?
Right, number 9. I couldn't decide on which film.
Ooh, okay.
I wanted to say for this one, but it's going to be Star Wars, but it's the first 3 films.
So, do you mean the original 3, which was New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, or do you mean Phantom Menace, Clone Wars,
the
and
OG,
Revenge of the Sith?
The originals. It was new, never seen before.
I mean, Star Wars, again, we all know how iconic Star Wars is. Did you know George Lucas, he pitched that film to so many big film companies and they didn't want to take it on.
Yeah, and he got a loan, didn't he, for his own business or something, like to set up his own business, and good on him, he's a billionaire now.
I bet they were kicking themselves when they saw how big that became.
I bet he was thinking, I didn't think it was going to be this big.
Yeah, of course, I bet he didn't. So what is it about Star Wars, those original 3, shall we call the original trilogy, that you liked?
The way it was filmed, it still looks good today. I think it still looks fresh. George was the first type of person to use those effects. I think his attention to detail was second to none, really.
It was kind of up there with Tron in the same way that he was ahead of its time special effects wise. I remember watching him for the first ever time when I was a kid, and you just like the whole premise of it, like lightsabers, laser guns. What was your view, thinking of Star Wars, going back to that now, what was your view on the ones that they did before, that was set before, so like Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, and Revenge of the Sith? What were your view on them? Did you enjoy them?
Oh, yes, I really enjoyed them as well. But again, it's just the first ones for me, really. I like that section because you had Ewan McGregor and so forth. But then when it came to the later ones, don't get me wrong, people, they're all good. I don't want to cause any arguments on here. They're still very good.
That's the beauty. We're going to cause arguments, and I don't care. I'm ruthless. I'm chaotic. Let's cause divide in the world, Ben. Let's do it.
But no, I think that it's still a very good franchise. I don't know how much more they can do, but we'll see. But what about you? What was your favourite Star Wars film? If you could choose just one out of all of them, even the spin-offs.
The spin-offs. I think a lot of people agree it's Rogue One.
Yes.
Are you saying New Hope's the one that you'd pick, or is there another one that you would pick and that was it?
I hope I get the episodes right here now.
It's all right. Doesn't matter. I mean, it'll only be the people who are listening and going, Ben, oh my God, you don't know Star Wars episodes?
I'm for saying it's one of my favourite films. I would say it's got to be the last one when when they're in when they've won, really.
No, it's Return of the Jedi, isn't it? That's the one where...
Return of the Jedi and Luke comes back, Darth Vader, all that jazz. So...
Oh, yeah. Darth Vader. I mean, with Star Wars, have you watched the Mandalorian TV series?
I haven't. It's on the list. It's definitely on the list to watch.
Right. If to everyone who's never watched Mandalorian, I'm not the biggest Star Wars nerd. I enjoy Star Wars. And oh my God, that program. Obviously, we all know it spawned the Baby Yoda memes, but it's a Star Wars Western.
Is it?
Yeah. It's incredible. I love it.
Your next one then.
So is it number 9 we're on now? I keep losing count.
Yes, we're on number 9, boss.
Number 9. So it has to be Back to the Future.
Classic film.
Back to the Future 2 is my all-time favourite, but the first Back to the Future, obviously, as we all know, set the tone. So when he goes back to 1955, he's trying to escape the Libyans as it is because Dr. Emmett Brown owes him money, basically owes him money. And like I said, he gets stuck there and he has to find Emmett Brown in 1955. But obviously he bumps into his parents when they're kids. And obviously, it's all about how they met. And it'd be interesting. Like, I think it'd be really cool if we could go back in time and see like how our parents met and stuff. Like, I don't know about you. I'd love to go back in time, and Back to the Future kind of put that hope in me that one day we will be able to.
Go back in time and get a load of Bitcoin.
You're still going on about Bitcoin.
A bit of Bitcoin, it's that was the future then, and it is now, isn't it? So just invest in something for me. But it would be nice to go back in time and look at some stuff,
So if you could go back to any time period, where would it be and why?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot now again, Ross.
See, that's my job, Ben. As your co-host, I am designed to put you on the spot 24/7.
When you say go back, do you mean just to go back to witness it, or do you to
you
change
could go back to witness or change it. It's up to you. You're going back in time. You could change the events or you could leave them the same. It's up to you.
I'd probably leave them the same, and I'd just probably go back in time to when I achieve certain things. It sounds a bit corny, but I'll probably just do that and just be basic. What about yourself?
Oh, see, for me, I wouldn't change time because I'm a big believer that if we change events, certain things wouldn't happen to this day, and that can be good or bad. But I would love to go back in time to the like when Frank Sinatra and all like the Rat Pack were forming and go and watch them live, and like where Elvis was big. I'd love to go around to that time period. That for me.
Yeah, say now you've mentioned that, I would actually like to go back and go to a live Motown show.
Oh yes, like when Motown's really becoming massive. I think that's the beauty. Like I do hope in one day that we do get time travel and we can do that. So Ben, what would be? Is it your number 10? Like you said, I'm used to this as a co-host. I can't even remember what number we're at.
This is the last one, Ross. Yeah, this is the
last one. Oh, here we go. This is it, Ben. Yeah. This is your top 10. Your last one. What is it?
The reason why I've picked this film is because it's when I was still in school or just finishing school. But it was huge.
Oh, okay.
At the time, and it was the first Harry Potter film.
Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah, because I remember it coming out, everyone talking about it. People in the class, oh yeah, I'm going to go and see the first showing, and again because it was the first film, I thought it was great.
It was. I went to go and see it myself, and I remember it very vividly. I went with my mum and dad and we went to Star City in Birmingham. We went there and I was eating pink and white marshmallows, and that's how I remember it.
Because of the marshmallows?
Because of the marshmallows, yeah. Basically, the marshmallows stood out for me. And I mean, pink and whites will always stand out for me. And it was, in a weird way, it was kind of scary.
It was.
Like, especially when you saw Voldemort. He was terrifying.
Yeah, he was, actually.
It was like when you see him in the future films, you're kind of like, oh, he's not that bad. But when you saw him that time, it was like, yo. Saying about Harry Potter, are you a big fan of the Harry Potter franchise in general then?
Yes and no. Again, it's one of those things where I think they're all good, but, they slowly are sort of like, yeah, I'm not really enjoying this now.
Goblet of Fire is the best one out of the Harry Potter franchise, hands down. I think that, I watched all of them. Azkaban was okay. Chamber of Secrets was great. But then it was when it got to the Order of the Phoenix, and then I just kind of dropped away. And to the point now where I really don't like Harry Potter. I can't stand it.
Do you think they needed a part 1 and part 2, or do you think they should have done something like Lord of the Rings and just do one long film?
Oh, God, I hate part 1 and part 2 films. I don't understand. Like, obviously, I know they need to make money on box office, but I don't understand why you need to do that. If a film, like, you don't get part 1 of a book and part 2 of a book, do you? Like, you get it in one thing. When they announced they were doing part 1 and part 2, the only reason they did that was to compete with Twilight, honestly. Because Twilight said, we're doing a part 1 and part 2. And ever since then, I've gone on a bit of a rant here now. You've triggered me, Ben. You've triggered me. What they should have done is, and you're exactly right, they should have done it like how Lord of the Rings was. And you watch how they did it. Yeah, they had to put it on 2 discs, but there wasn't Return of the King Part 1, Return of the King Part 2. And that's, for me, was annoying because you could see that they're only doing that just to earn some more on the box office.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
Infinity War was originally going to be part 1 and part 2, but then they changed it and said, actually, here's Infinity War and then this is Endgame. So they're 2 separate films. But then again, I wasn't happy because 2 separate films in that sense.
No, you weren't happy.
No,
I remember you ranting.
Yeah, I was, and I was ranting. For me, like I said, it just feels like a cash grab. Like, if it's going to be a part 1 and part 2, don't leave us on a cliffhanger. If you're not going to release the film for a year, I've probably lost interest by then.
Yeah.
Like I said, you've triggered me on a rant about it.
I was going to say 2 hours later.
2 hours later, Ross is still here going, part 1 and part 2 is not a thing. Next year there's part 3 and 4.
Yeah, so what's your number 10, Ross?
Oh, I think the film that has to be put on here is The Green Mile. Green Mile is an incredible film. Again, Tom Hanks. Have you ever watched Green Mile, Ben?
I can't remember. I think I have.
So Green Mile, again, this is like a 3-hour film, so you need to invest time in it. It's basically Tom Hanks plays a guard on death row.
Oh, yes, I remember now, the prisoner.
Yes. So basically, it's based on all these guards that are on death row. And then this one prisoner who's played by Michael Clarke Duncan, who I absolutely love in general. I love Michael Clarke Duncan, and I'm so gutted when he passed. So in one scene, there's this, I think it's like a dead mouse or something, and he resurrects it. So it's a weird, like, supernatural style film in that way. Like I said, these guards, they used to seeing people come and go, these inmates, and they don't care about. But this bloke, he comes in, and obviously he's been put on death row. And I've never cried at a film in my life. I've never, ever cried at a film, ever. And I don't cry at TV and film because, you know, it's all made up. But I felt myself welling up at this film because just the storytelling, it's so heartbreaking and heart-rendering and full of hope and happiness. And then the perspectives can change and how it makes you think. It is one of those films that it's on the top 100 before, you know, you die. You need to watch.
It came out in 2000.
Yeah, like on the cusp of like 99, 2000 sort of time. So obviously I was too young to watch it at the time, but when I remember I watched it, I think I was about 15 at the time, 15, something like that. So about 10 years ago.
You're 15 when you watched it as an 18 restricted. You badass.
I was a rebel, mate.
Ooh,
you know,
Ross.
The system couldn't hold me down. I mean, what a hell of a 2 top 10 lists we have, and how different they were, Ben.
Yeah. It's been interesting to find out something new about each other for sure.
I'm really excited to talk about our next topic, Ben, which I think you know, don't you?
I dabble in it.
What is it? What do you dabble in, Ben?
Well, I think we're going to talk about different songs at weddings and what songs get people going, and then just talk about some experiences.
Weddings, there's always a cracker of a song, isn't there?
Oh, yes, there is. There is.
There's always Mr. Brightside, at least. But what I will say to our listeners is thank you again for listening to us rambling on. And I hope that we've helped make some choices for you if you are staying at home and you want to watch some films. And we hope that we've helped you with that. But we do hope to see you commenting and send us some of your favourite films and obviously messages and all this. We're really looking forward to getting that. But most importantly, stay safe and don't forget to hit that subscribe button because, Ben, what does hitting that subscribe button do for us?
Well, it sends you a notification and you can listen to this podcast straight away, and it also helps us out.
Exactly. What more could you want by doing that? But I've been your co-host, Ross, and this is my co-host, Benny Boy, and we've had a cracking time, and we are looking forward to seeing you next time. But until next time, guys, stay safe and see you soon. The intro to RNB Fusion podcast is Just Smile by Liquid. You can find this on soundcloud.com/liquid, and that is spelled LIQWYD. This falls under the Creative Commons Attribution 3.0. And you can also find this on YouTube under the channel Audio Library.